Welcome to the Bleav Network's Best of Bleav Hour on Stadium. Do you believe?
We're back, baby. It's the charity stripe. Pitch your free throws because they offer. Reed, Joshua Fisher, Alexander Toss Me the Rock, Tosopoulos, and DJ Nikki Snacks Kreider here on Stadium. Best of Bleav, an omni-channel home to 400 podcasts. What kind of podcasts you like? We got that. We're expanding. Go check out our YouTube channel, Bleav Network. Go check us out on Twitter, Bleav Network. Instagram, Bleav Network. Also check us out, the charity stripe, at the.charity.stripe on Instagram or at _charity stripe _ on Twitter. We're on the Bleav YouTube if you want to find us there. And of course, on Stadium, so many great shows coming your way. Best of Bleav. We highlight all the great Bleav content from the content creators, hundreds of former athletes on our network, hundreds of pundits on our network. We have all the great content, different clips coming your way, a lot of cool stuff down the pipeline. Getting started, just for a little funsies while we're all here, three of us together, I had an idea. I want to throw it by you guys. Jimmy G's been on the block for God knows how long. Kareem Hunt wants out of Cleveland. Cleveland may need a quarterback. Jacoby Brissett's not a competitive guy. They don't have a first-round pick next year, so tanking, there's no point in that. Deshaun Watson might be suspended for an entire year. 1-for-1 swap, Kareem Hunt, Jimmy G, Nick. Who wins the deal? Do you like the deal? Does everybody win? Does nobody win?
I think the Niners win that deal.
Okay.
Because I think if you're looking at this whole situation, you're hoping that Deshaun Watson comes back and Jimmy G's just a rental.
Yeah.
And you're taking away a weapon from Deshaun Watson and a guy who can spell Nick Chubb, who could end up being one of the best running backs in the league. So taking some plays off for him. So I think the Niners would win that deal. And I'm honestly not too sure that the Browns would make that deal.
Okay. Toss?
Well, I think that for the Browns, it makes a lot of sense to me because you don't have your first-round pick next year. So you want to compete while you can with the roster that you have. Deshaun Watson is coming back eventually. So you'd rather keep that team together with a guy like Jimmy G at the helm as opposed to a guy like Jacoby Brissett. I think we all agree that Jimmy G is a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, and he could win more games for them in the AFC North. But I also like this trade a lot for the 49ers. I mean, Trey Sermon is supposed to be the backup for Elijah Mitchell right now, but if Kareem Hunt comes into that running back room, that's dangerous. I'm always excited for a running back in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, but Kareem Hunt he's awesome. And that means that, you don't have to run Debo as much, which is great.
Yeah. Well, if the Niners are going to have an awesome running back duo, I could give you one better. All the best to Bleav coming your way. Bleav content. We have On My Block, a Packers podcast, Mike Wall and Mon Green. We also have the Sean Salisbury show with Sean Salisbury. And for the first time ever, their first episode, Smash and Dash, Lendale White and CJ2K, Chris Johnson coming at you guys. Don't go anywhere with the charity stripe. We'll be right back in just a hot second. We're back, baby. It's the charity stripe. Pitch your free throws because they offer. Reed, Joshua Fisher, Alexander Toss Me the Rock, Tosopoulos, and DJ Nikki Snacks Kreider here on Stadium. This is the best of Bleav, the Bleav Network and Omni Channel. We have so many great clips coming your way from so many different athletes, pundits, different teams, different sports. First up, we have an awesome clip from Sean Salisbury in the Sean Salisbury Show talking NIL.
At some point in time, they may be offered something, but then somebody else is offered more and they get to campus. If they're not playing, what is that guy who's paying them going to do? Oh, well, I gave you $1 million to do a commercial and you're the third quarterback. Eventually, somehow, there's going to be a clause in that or an addendum that says, I ain't paying you. We're not. So that's where that slippery slope on the protection of the alumni or the booster side, right? But, yes, I believe it's going to be a great point. There are going to be kids that are going to do both. They're going to go to a school because the money's offered more, and they're just going there. They think they're going to play, and they're going to be a pro, but they're going to take the money, too, because they want to enjoy the shit out of college, right?
Right.
And they don't want to have to ask their parents for money. I get it. And then there's going to be the kid who's going to go to another school that offered less because he wants to play and have an opportunity to be that guy.
Sean Salisbury's show. Try saying that like, I can't do it. I could do it maybe 3 times in a row. But Sean Salisbury.
Toss likes a good old challenge.
You do like go.
I do love a good challenge, and I love a good challenge, especially when you already gave it to us last week.
So I'm going to give it to you every week.
The Sean Salisbury Show. The Sean Salisbury
Time to practice.
The Sean Salisbury Show. There you go. There's 3 times. We don't need to take any more time up with that one.
That's great. We have this conversation on NIL a lot, right? And we do it on our Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. And basically, Nick, when we were like off air, it's basically you were just saying like it's going to have to become incentivized.
Yeah, just like how the NFL does it. At some point, these players are going to have incentives behind their money, right? You have to play a certain amount of snaps, you have to play a certain amount of games, or you have to rush for a certain amount of yards, right? Like companies don't want to have players that ride the bench or players that perform poorly to be the face of their product or their company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's because look, you could throw a kid $9 million, but like Sean's saying, if he's the third guy on the depth chart, like where'd my investment go? And you want as many guys to come in the room as possible. And right now, it's White Claw Central. There's lawless out here, right? No laws when you're drinking claws. Not a sponsor yet. And but we'll see what happens when we actually see, like when we see this A&M class that they supposedly bought on the field. When we see the Texas Longhorn class, like Bijan's rolling around in a Lamborghini. He's still got it. You know, we anticipate him being one of the best running backs in college football. Knock on wood, but what if he isn't? You know what I'm saying?
Did they repo his car?
Yeah, right? They repo his car. So these guys, it's going to have to get to a point where these guys are performing to the level. And I'm curious to see if there's a lull in the NIL. Like they're always like any kind of stock market, any kind of money movement, if there's eventually a lull in the situation. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel on the Sean Salisbury show. We have more NIL talk, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, two guys who know a lot about the sport of football, Lendell White and CJ2K on Smash and Dash, continue the NIL conversation right here.
We dreamed of having this big old mansion. We dreamed of being able to go buy a sports car. Now I can do this in college. So guess what? What am I doing here?
Well, so look, I got to play devil's advocate, and I got a 22, yes. But some of them might feel that and be like, I need more. You know how it is. Some people that touch a little bit of power or get a little bit of power in a job and they be like, I need to be more. Some of them are going to see that and be like, okay, I can do this right here. And this is what I'm touching, and I'm the man here. But you know that some of us sits here still like, yeah, this is cool. And yes, I'm touching big paper in like college. I want to go to the NFL. I got to feel that.
Yeah.
Like I want to feel that.
So awesome to hear from Lendell White and CJ2K, Chris Johnson, teammates for the Tennessee Titans at one point in time in the NFL. I think that they both bring up really, really great points that are related to what we heard on the Sean Salisbury show, right? It's the motivation of going to the NFL has to be at the forefront of these young men's lives. And the other thing that I kind of wanted to throw out there is, what about financial management, right? A lot of times, look, we're all 27 years old and we still don't know how to spend our money, where to spend our money, how to save our money.
We're so bad at it.
We're figuring it out. So I think that for these young guys to get so much money at that point, they deserve it, right? They deserve that money. And at least if they make the plays on the field, they definitely deserve it. But how are they saving it? How are they looking at it from a financial risk perspective? And of course, that's what the universities have to help out with. But I think that, that initial point that Lendale brings up is you got to have the motivation to get you to the NFL because the bag is nice. The bag is nice for NIL money, but it's a lot better if you can have a long tenured NFL career.
Yeah, these guys, look at MLB. These guys are signing 10-year deals to cross-sport it. Austin Riley probably took less money than he could have made on a 5-year deal if he hit the open market, but he takes a 10-year deal to have the money for like a long time.
He's set for a while.
He's set for a while, yeah. The money comes and goes, and it moves. Like, look at T.O. Shaq has talked about spending $1 million in one day. The money can move kind of quickly.
It can. And I think that guys have an appetite to stay in college longer once they get a taste of that NIL money. But also on the flip side, they may go to the NFL and realize that they made their money and not stay as long. And there's two guys in this next clip, Mike Wall and Amon Green, on my block, where they talk about the longevity of NFL players and not staying in the league as long. So check out this clip right here, and we'll get into it.
I agree, man. This is a very interesting time for a lot of young professionals, the guys that are trying to break into the league. I mean, they talk about the career length of an NFL player being like 3.5 years, and obviously the statistics take into account the fact that a lot of guys don't make it past year one. Mm-hmm. And we talk about this all the time. Like, why do guys not make it past year one or year two? Is it physical ability? Of course, it's part of it. But you listen to any pro who's made it 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and you ask them, why do they make it and other people don't? Every single time they say the same thing, man. It's because they were willing to put the time in. They were willing to be honest with themselves about their shortcomings and areas of opportunity and put in work to fix them. Like, they're just willing to put in time that other people weren't. And that, as great a job as it is to be in the National Football League, it's a competitive job. And, it's like, you tell your kids the same thing. Hey, listen, if you don't want to put in the time, that's fine. Just understand there's somebody down the street or 2,000 miles away that's willing to do it. And 100%. One day you'll meet them and they'll beat you. It's a fact of life, man. That's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, it's eye-opening. Coming from two guys who are pros, been in the locker room. Think about how many training camps these guys have seen. How many guys they've seen put on a Packers uniform, and a couple days later they're gone, and then we don't see them again. The NFL, unfortunately, it's like one of the worst sayings, but it does stand for not for long, right? And we've heard that time and time again.
Right.
And there's certain guys that, look, we saw Justin Herbert, who wasn't ready after. He could have been one of the top QBs taken, but he wasn't ready after his junior. He stayed another year, and he obviously in the NIL days would have made more money. But from an NIL perspective, I still side with Lendale. You should be motivated to get there. And Well, to Mike Wall's point, he mentions that the guys that don't stay in the league long enough, or the guys that did stay in the league long enough, they basically said that they put in the time and the effort and the preparation to make sure they got better and that they, made all of the right adjustments. Yeah.
So a guy who is in the league for 1 year or 2 years or is 3 years, right? He stays in the league maybe and doesn't want to make those adjustments because he already got his money in college. Like it might force players, not force players. It might give players the opportunity to not even care as much because they made their money and they feel like they're set and they took their time in the NFL and they don't want to work as hard.
Or retire early.
That's what I'm saying.
Because of, think about what we've seen time and time again. Guys leave the game early because of their health.
Right.
And if you have your money in college, guys could bypass the NFL.
Physical health and mental health.
I really like from the financial standpoint that there are other leagues that are being formed where football is still the sport and you can still make money, like the XFL, like the CFL, which is getting better and better every single year. As a basketball player in the NBA, you have an opportunity to make a lot of money in a lot of different ways, not just in the NBA, but overseas and now in college. So I'm glad that NIL is a potential for money making for football players as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we have more football talk coming your way. We have Bleav in Seahawks, Lofa Tutupu, Brett Davern over there. We also have Bleav in Giants, Carl Banks, Bob Papa. And we have Bleav in Colts, Gerard Powers, Lawrence Owen. Don't move the dial. We'll be right back in just a hot second. We're the Charity Stripe. This is Best of Bleav on Stadium.